Did you know the name Canada comes from Kanata, an indigenous word meaning village or settlement? But the country with such a small and simple meaning is almost too vast to imagine in a single journey. Canada stretches across 6 time zones. It is the second largest country in the world, home to the longest coastline on Earth, and more than 2 million lakes scattered across its immense landscape. Here, water does more than create beauty. It shapes the way people live, travel, build cities, and connect with nature. What makes Canada even more surprising is how much of it remains open. Despite its enormous size, most Canadians live in the south. More than 80% of the population lives within about 150 kilometers of the United States border, the longest undefended border in the world, stretching nearly 8,900 kilometers in peace. That is what makes Canada extraordinary. It is not only beautiful, it is full of contrast. From frozen horizons to green wilderness, from endless lakes to modern cities, from empty northern spaces to places rich with culture and history, Canada is always more than it first appears. Now let's begin a journey through Canada, a land vast, peaceful, wild, and far more surprising than most people ever imagined. Beyond the forests and mountain roads of Western Canada, the land begins to change. In the Yukon and the Northwest Territories, distance is no longer measured only in miles. It is measured in darkness, frozen ground, empty roads, and the long silence between communities. Here, winter does not simply arrive. It takes control. For months, daylight becomes thin and brief. Above the Arctic Circle, some places can pass through winter days when the sun barely rises at all. But when the sky finally turns black, another kind of light appears. The northern lights move across the darkness like green fire over a frozen world. They are beautiful, but they are also a reminder of how far north this place really is. The ground itself is different here. Much of the region sits on permafrost, earth that can remain frozen year after year. To build on it, people cannot simply place houses on the ground and trust it to hold. Many buildings must be raised on piles, leaving cold air beneath them, because too much heat from a house can soften the frozen soil below. In the north, even shelter must be designed not to disturb the land. Roads crack, pipes shift, foundations move when the ground begins to thaw. What looks solid from above is often ice-rich earth, quietly changing beneath every footstep. And still, people live here. Small towns glow under enormous skies. Trucks cross long highways with nothing but spruce trees, snowbanks, and darkness on either side. In winter, the landscape seems almost empty. But emptiness here does not mean lifelessness. It means everything has learned to wait. The Yukon and the Northwest Territories do not offer comfort easily. They offer scale, silence, and a lesson written into frozen ground. In Canada's north, survival is not about conquering nature. It is about learning how little pressure the land will allow. After the frozen silence of the Canadian North, the journey turns south into a very different kind of emptiness. Here, the cold darkness of Yukon and the Northwest Territories gives way to dry canyons, exposed stone, and a landscape where the past is not buried deep underground, but slowly rising back to the surface. This is the Alberta Badlands. One moment, the land is open prairie, wide and flat beneath the sky. The next, it drops away into a broken world of canyons, rust-colored cliffs, and dark bands of ancient stone. What looks like a dry and empty landscape is actually one of Canada's deepest records of time. For thousands of years, water, frost, and wind have slowly cut into these soft layers of sediment. The erosion is almost too slow to notice in a single lifetime. But over millions of years, it has carved an entire fossil landscape out of the prairie. 75 million years ago, this place was not desert-like at all. It was warm, wet, and alive, a swampy coastal plain near the edge of an inland sea. Forests grew here. Rivers carried mud through the lowlands. Dinosaurs moved through the vegetation, leaving behind bones that would slowly vanish into the sediment. Then the climate shifted. The sea retreated. The forests died back. The living world was buried, layer by layer, until erosion began to uncover it again. That is what makes the Badlands so strange. They are not simply ruins of rock. They are a graveyard being slowly opened by the weather. Along the canyon floors, hoodoos rise from the dust like stone figures left behind by another age. Each one stands because a harder cap of rock protects the softer column beneath it, while everything around it wears away. Their colored bands are not decoration. They are layers of ancient environments: floods, rivers, shorelines, forests, and climate shifts pressed into stone. In summer, the canyon walls hold the heat like an oven. Dust rises from the dry ground, and beneath the same rock that burns in the sun, the bones of the Cretaceous world are still waiting. Paleontologists work slowly across these slopes, using small brushes to remove grains of sand from bones that have been hidden for tens of millions of years. The Alberta Badlands contain one of the richest concentrations of late Cretaceous fossils on Earth. Here, dinosaurs do not appear only as isolated fragments. In some places, their skeletons emerge in groups, suggesting animals that may once have moved together across this vanished landscape. It is the silence of a place where time is not counted in years, but in erosion, extinction, and the slow return of buried worlds to the surface.
Niagara Falls, Ontario. Our journey into the sovereign north begins not with a gentle whisper, but with an earth-shattering roar. Long before you actually lay eyes on this natural wonder, you will physically feel it. The ground beneath your feet vibrates, and a deep, thundering rumble echoes in your chest. Welcome to Niagara Falls, the undisputed titan of North American landscapes. Standing right at the border of Canada and the United States, this isn't just a beautiful, cascading waterfall. It is raw, unbridled power in its purest form. Every single minute, a staggering 6 million cubic feet of water cascades over the brink, crashing violently into the emerald abyss below. To truly understand Niagara, you have to look back 12,000 years to the end of the last ice age, when melting glaciers filled the Great Lakes and forcefully carved a path right through the Niagara escarpment on their urgent journey toward the Atlantic Ocean. And the craziest part, it is still moving. The falls are a geological marvel in constant motion, eroding the solid rock and moving backward at a rate of about 30 centimeters every single year. On the Canadian side, the undisputed star of the show is the magnificent Horseshoe Falls. Stretching an incredible 7 to 90 meters wide, this massive curved curtain of water creates a perpetual towering cloud of mist that rises hundreds of feet into the air, painting brilliant rainbows across the sky on any sunny day. But looking from the edge is only half the experience. To truly grasp the magnitude of this sanctuary, you have to get wet. Imagine stepping aboard the iconic Hornblower cruise. As the boat bravely navigates the churning lower rapids, pushing right to the very base of the Horseshoe Falls, you are instantly engulfed in a blinding, icy spray. Looking up at millions of gallons of water, free-falling just meters away from your face, triggers a pure, primal adrenaline rush. It's a profoundly humbling moment that instantly makes you realize just how small we humans really are in the grand scheme of geological time. Over the decades, these turbulent waters have inspired generations of dreamers and daredevils, some of whom risked everything just to conquer the abyss in wooden barrels. For a completely different perspective, you can elevate your experience, literally. Ascend the Skylon Tower, which dramatically rises over 230 meters above the falls. From its 360-degree observation deck, the sheer scale of the sudden drop and the winding path of the mighty Niagara River unfold beautifully before your eyes. And as the sun dips below the horizon, the experience completely transforms. Head down to Queen Victoria Park. As night falls, the crashing waters are illuminated by an array of vibrant, dancing lights, turning the violent cascade into a mesmerizing, glowing masterpiece, often crowned with spectacular fireworks lighting up the summer sky. It is the perfect, explosive prologue to the wonders that lie ahead. Churchill, Manitoba. For our final destination, we leave the familiar behind and venture into the absolute edge of the continent. Traveling deep into northern Manitoba to the desolate shores of the Hudson Bay, we arrive in the small, unassuming town of Churchill. On the surface, it looks like a quiet, isolated outpost. But Churchill holds secrets that completely defy logic and bend the rules of the natural world. Did you know that due to ancient glaciers permanently altering the Earth's crust, the gravity in the Hudson Bay region is actually scientifically weaker than anywhere else on the planet? You are quite literally lighter here, but a strange gravitational pull is not what makes Churchill famous. Every year, as the crisp autumn air settles in, Churchill undergoes a transformation that earns it the undisputed title of the polar bear capital of the world. Hundreds of magnificent, massive polar bears migrate inland, moving so close to the town that they completely integrate with human civilization. This is one of the only places on Earth where humans and apex predators share the exact same space in a delicate, respectful dance. The rules of survival here are entirely unique. In Churchill, it is actually illegal to lock your car doors. Residents purposefully leave their vehicles and homes unlocked just in case someone on the street needs to quickly take shelter from a wandering bear. The town even operates a temporary holding facility, often referred to as a polar bear jail, to safely house bears that wander too close to danger before releasing them back into the vast, icy wilderness. If you visit during the warmer months of July and August, the landscape shifts dramatically once again. The frozen bay thaws, and the dark waters suddenly teem with thousands of migrating friendly beluga whales. You can kayak right alongside these curious white ghosts of the sea as they chirp and sing beneath the surface. Churchill is the perfect metaphor for the sovereign North. It is a place of extremes where survival requires immense resilience, deep respect for nature, and a willingness to adapt. Standing on the shores of the bay, watching a solitary polar bear walk silently across the frozen ice shelf beneath the glow of the midnight sun, you realize why Canada has become a global sanctuary. It is a nation that doesn't try to conquer the wild, but rather learns how to live beautifully within it. Toronto and the Windsor Corridor. Leaving the raw, untamed roar of the falls behind, we glide smoothly into the beating, cosmopolitan heart of the country. Welcome to Toronto. As the most populated city in Canada, Toronto isn't just a thriving metropolis, it is a stunning global anomaly. Imagine strolling down a single vibrant street and hearing over 140 different languages effortlessly weaving through the crisp air. With nearly half of its entire population born outside of Canada's borders, Toronto is arguably the most multicultural and diverse city on the planet. It's a profound place where the world has peacefully gathered to build a life together. As you approach from the sparkling shores of Lake Ontario, the city's dramatic, futuristic skyline absolutely demands your attention, heavily dominated by the iconic CN Tower piercing the clouds at well over 500 meters high. For the ultimate adrenaline junkie, you can actually step outside on the tower's edge walk, leaning backward over the bustling streets, with nothing but air between you and the ground far below. Back on solid ground, the true magic of Toronto lies in its distinct, deeply rooted neighborhoods. You can easily spend your morning exploring the bohemian charm of Kensington Market, where the rich aroma of Caribbean spice shops seamlessly blends with the savory sense of European cheesemongers. From the vibrant storefronts of its 6 different Chinatowns to the colorful, open-air storytelling of Graffiti Alley, Toronto proves that diversity is the ultimate form of urban beauty. If you ever need a break from the urban energy, the city offers surprising, natural escapes. You can wander through the 400 acres of Hyde Park, which transforms into a spectacular sea of pink cherry blossoms every spring, or stand beneath silently gliding sharks at Ripley's Aquarium. But what makes this region truly electrifying today isn't just its cultural tapestry, it's the bold leap into tomorrow. Toronto is the powerful anchor of the Windsor Corridor, the undisputed economic engine of the nation. In a world that often feels chaotic and deeply polarized, Canada has emerged as the calm, competent adult in the room, guided by a visionary and measured national leadership under Prime Minister Mark Carney. Instead of just resting on the laurels of its magnificent wilderness, the current administration is aggressively, actively building a modern renaissance. Right now, this corridor is the site of an expedited, monumental, high-speed railway mega project that is fundamentally transforming North American travel. Designed to seamlessly and sustainably connect around 60% of the entire country's population, this high-speed rail network is an absolute game-changer. Imagine stepping onto a sleek, silent bullet train in downtown Toronto and gliding effortlessly through the beautiful Ontario countryside, blending premium travel comfort with an unshakable commitment to green energy and economic growth. This forward-thinking infrastructure is exactly why so many global investors and intelligent travelers are looking to the sovereign north as a beacon of long-term stability. It is a profound testament to a nation deeply invested in its future, moving fast while keeping its soul intact. Have you ever experienced a city that balances ancient global cultures and futuristic technology so perfectly? Ottawa, Ontario. Leaving behind the towering glass skyscrapers and the relentless urban energy of Toronto, we travel eastward to a city that commands your attention not with noise, but with profound, quiet dignity. Welcome to Ottawa, the political and historic heart of the sovereign North. Perched majestically along the banks of the mighty Ottawa River, which acts as a natural flowing border between the English-speaking province of Ontario and the French-speaking province of Quebec, this capital city is the ultimate physical representation of Canada's bilingual soul. In a world that so often feels chaotic, Ottawa stands out as an oasis of calm competence and steady leadership. The undisputed centerpiece of this city is Parliament Hill. Standing high above the river, this architectural masterpiece of Gothic Revival buildings looks as though it was lifted straight out of a European fairy tale. Crowned by the magnificent Peace Tower soaring into the sky, this isn't just a picturesque photo opportunity. It is the very place where Canadian democracy lives and breathes. During the warm summer months, the sweeping green lawns of the hill come alive with the ceremonial changing of the guard, a colourful tradition that links the modern nation to its deep historical roots. But to truly understand Ottawa, you have to experience its dramatic seasonal transformations. When the harsh winter arrives, plunging temperatures down to a bone-chilling -40 degrees Celsius, Ottawa officially earns its title as the world's coldest capital city. But instead of hiding indoors, the locals embrace the freeze. The historic Rideau Canal, a 202-kilometer UNESCO World Heritage Site, originally built as a military supply route following the War of 1812, undergoes a magical metamorphosis. Right through the center of the city, a 7.8-kilometer stretch of the canal freezes solid, transforming into the largest naturally frozen skating rink on the planet. Imagine the sheer joy of gliding effortlessly over the thick ice, passing historic stone bridges and snow-covered parks, while warming your hands with a hot chocolate and a freshly baked beaver tail, a legendary local pastry shaped perfectly like a beaver's tail, coated in cinnamon sugar. When the ice finally thaws, the energy shifts to the historic Byward Market. Established way back in 1826, this vibrant four-block neighbourhood is home to Canada's oldest continuously operating farmers' market. Wandering through its bustling stalls, the scent of fresh maple syrup and artisanal cheeses fills the air, blending seamlessly with the lively chatter spilling out from trendy pubs and boutique shops. And as the golden hour approaches, casting a warm glow over the limestone walls of the Fairmont Chateau Laurier, you realize that Ottawa doesn't need to shout to be heard. It is an elegant, discreet capital that perfectly balances institutional solemnity with an undeniable, enchanting cultural vibrancy,